is having some technical difficulties. So I will start off at the moment and we will get into it in the nature of time. I hope everyone is well and surviving end of financial year. I know it's crazy in our office at the moment, but hopefully everyone in your business is having a relatively cruisy, end of financial year. Okay, this is a slide that we do each webinar. So, three stages to enhance your business. Financial knowledge and awareness is that baseline, understanding your strategy, and then overcoming fears and limiting beliefs. So, remain open to new knowledge and possibilities that we will be teaching you today. And we're trying to, I suppose, work in that top tier in our webinars with the overcoming fears and limiting beliefs. So we're just trying to focus on, I suppose, really expanding your thinking and teaching you something new that you may not hear of every day. So our four arms of our business, so there's Bookmates, our bookkeeping arm, PTP tax and compliance, which helps minimize your tax and protect your assets. We're in the advisory space here at the moment, so increasing your profit and the choice that you have around your business and the way that you operate it. And then there's our PTP wealth arm, which is where you can invest and grow those profits. So, how to make the most of today's webinar. Make sure that you be open, that you listen to and note your thoughts and reactions. So, just identifying some blind spots and self limiting beliefs. So, if we talk about something and you're like, no, that wouldn't work, maybe just kind of going, well, why do I think that? Looking at that reaction that you have. Commit to trying at least one concept or action. We will talk about lots of things in these, but if you take away everything and try and implement it, you aren't going to get very far. So we always recommend to just take one thing, one concept or one action point and just try and implement that. Make sure that you ask questions. We've got question boxes over to the right hand side. You should see a chat box over there, and that's got some housekeeping things in there. And make sure that you set yourself an accountability action. So that's the magic step to us, is that you can do all of the learning and all of the reading and watch as many webinars as you like to try and make your life or your business easier. But until you actually have someone that you're accountable, then you just don't have anyone to keep pushing you. So whether that's your partner, your business partner, your accountant, your bank manager, just have someone that you tell, this is what I'm going to do, and that will make a really big difference. This is one of my favorite quotes when I speak to business owners. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. As business owners, we are so busy that sometimes we forget to really step back and see what changes that we can make within our behaviors to make our lives and businesses better. So today, I really want you to take in what we are saying and what one thing that you could do to make your life a little bit easier. Now, if anyone has ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we are going to go through the cash flow quadrants today because we feel like it's really relevant to business owners. There's four quadrants. So there are employee, which is when you have a job, self-employed when you own your own business, but you are just, by yourself, you essentially own your job. You're a business owner, so you own a system that works for you and you employ staff. And then you're an investor where your money then works for you. So the characteristics of each of these types of um, levels in business, all kind of, we wanted to, I suppose, put our spin on there, being, the time, money, culture, and energy that these different business styles have on your business. So if you're an employee, we know that 100% of the time is in the business. You've got limited and capped income. You've got a very individual focus and limited flexibility. If you're self employed, you've still got 100% of the time doing the work. And your money is a little bit more unlimited compared to employee because you can earn a lot more, but it's capped at your capacity. So you can only do as much as you can do. You don't have a team, so there's no ability to delegate, but you do have more flexibility being self employed compared to being an employee. But the less time that you spend in the business, the less money that you have. So there's a bit of, I suppose, Yeah, there's a bit of a downside there in terms of that everything's tied to the amount of hours that you work. As a business owner, you could be 50% working in the business and 50% working on the business. You, um, because you've got a team around you, you've got more scale and opportunity to make more money, and you've just got a lot more flexibility going forward. Oh, hey, Joe, you've joined us.
Hello. My sincere apologies. I'm not sure what was going on. We had a technical glitch, and technology is not my strong suit. So sorry about that.
All good. And then we've got the investor. So 10% working in your business. So you're working in your business less and less as we step through these quadrants. 90% working on your business. There's higher profit and there's more time to spend it how you want. You've got an independent team and absolute unlimited flexibility. So let's take the first step right now, and we're just going to put a poll up, and we want you to select where you are at the moment, just so we can gauge are you an employee? Are you self employed? Are you a business owner? Or do you feel like you're at that investor stage? So I'll just give you a second to do that. So we've got a couple more business owners, so with a team, and a couple of employees, one self-employed. So that's really good. Okay.
Oh, got
Beautiful.
something pop in the chat. And asked where will I access the poll. It should have popped up and hopefully on your
Or
screen.
maybe even if you open the chat box and off to the right hand side, there's like a little arrow. Maybe open the chat box. And for me, I don't know if it's different on my side, but it's in the second tab polls. But it should have, yeah, it should have popped up. Usually they do, but technology is not our friend today.
But yeah, usually I can log in, no problems. I was just about to say that.
So we've got some employees, some self-employed, and some business owners. So we might move on, and you can have a bit of a chatting, Joe, so everyone's not getting sick of my voice.
Excellent. And good, you found it. Thank you. Thanks, Tam. Sorry everyone about that. And sorry, Tam. Thanks for running with that.
Good.
All right. So why do people go into business? Tam already referenced the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a bit of a staple, been around for a long time, been very well read, lots of useful information in there. Another book that we regularly refer to as the E Myth, and it talks about why people go into business. And uh, one of the terms they use in there is quite often people have an entrepreneurial seizure. So they decide out of the blue that they're going to go into business, and not necessarily give a lot of thought about it, or they have something happen. They might lose their job, or they might have something happen where they can't work in their particular job, or they have sick of the career, whatever. But they make a decision, and quite often it's a snap decision. And these are some of the reasons why people do it. Some of it's creativity and flexibility, so they feel a bit stifled in their position, and they want to, I suppose, be able to express themselves a little bit more and have flexibility to either work hours they want to, or do what they would like to do within their chosen field. Um, Wealth creation income. So there's a perception that you can earn more money, or create more wealth in business versus being in an employee position, which we'll cover off in a bit. Lifestyle. So coming back to that whole flexibility thing a little bit as well, is being able to choose how you want to live your life, and create the lifestyle that fits with you, rather than being forced into a certain amount of hours, or whatever that looks like. Independence and making a difference as well. So some people feel like they're not necessarily able to express themselves and make as big of a difference just turning up and working day to day for someone else, and they would like to make decisions and do that themselves. So they're four of them. There's any number of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, people do it for all sorts of reasons. They want the challenge. What are some of the other things you hear about, Tam?
Absolutely. But what I find really interesting, Joe, is not so much everyone goes into business for generally a different purpose. But what we see happen in the advisory stage is that sometimes that purpose that they go into business with ends up not being what they're achieving. So it might be a better work life balance or more family time, and their business ends up running them. and they
It's
actually,
the opposite of what they were
it
trying to do,
is
isn't
the
it?
opposite
Yeah.
of what we go into business for sometimes, because we just allow our business to do that. We're so busy, we're not working on our business, and we're not actually doing what we originally set out to do. So I do encourage everyone to kind of just step back and go, well, why did I go into business, and am I achieving that? Sometimes it's to make more money, and then they're making less money in their business than what they could have taken home as an employee if it's a bad year. So it's just really interesting to, I suppose, just reflect on why did you go into business, and are you staying true to that now, or is your business running you a little bit?
Which I'm sure we can all identify with from time to
Oh,
time, but
absolutely.
as long as it's as long as it's something you're aware of, as you say, we get caught up in the day to day and just keep rolling forward. Um, Not just
Definitely.
in business, but across the board.
Hmm.
So that's moving on to step two. Is starting is the first step here. Really, is define where you're at, understand where you're at now. So where you're beginning. Step two, and moving to start with the end in mind. Um, Again, another really great book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. This is one of the tenets of that. Start with the end in mind. Think about where you're going first. Now, where how is another thing that Tom and I use a lot with our advisory from our mind shop stuff is think about where you are now, where you're going, and then how you're going to get there. Don't just start going there. Think about really clear about where you want to be first. So, business by design is another name for this. So, what do you want it to look like? Design it. Think about some of the key things that we sort of talk about there. Dollars. So, financially, what do you want it to look like? How do you want your time to be spent? Approximately how much time that might be how much time do you want to spend in it versus out of it, on various things within the business, that sort of thing. Culture, what sort of culture do you want to create within there as well, and your energy levels. That's another one that gets missed a lot. Is that you know, going into business saps a lot of energy. Yes, it's time consuming. Yes, it can be costly and all that sort of stuff. Very energy consuming, and running a business even more so. So that's the really valuable commodity here. All the other stuff comes off your ability, in my mind, it comes off your ability to generate and maintain energy.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, we've got two ones. Look at that. Do you intend to stay here, or are you just moving through this stage? So this is moving from employed to self-employed. Um, whilst a lot of people aim to get through and get to investor level, and I think that's a good thing to aim for, generally speaking, anyway, because you can stay in the business and do what you like. That's fine. But being able to have that choice is great. But do we want to step out? Do we want to move through self-employed to business owner and then onwards, or are we just going to stay at self-employed? A good example here is a tradie that's a plumber or a sparky or something that just wants to get a van and go and do their own thing. And they're not necessarily interested in growing a team or doing any of that sort of stuff. They're more than happy just doing it by themselves, and that's absolutely fine. You can achieve a lot of stuff just doing that you wouldn't have in a normal employment position. And do you have someone to help keep you on track? Because keeping in mind that whilst sometimes your boss or your manager or your team that you work for can be restrictive. The other side to that is they do keep you on track. There is a benefit. There's a positive there. Now, what a lot of people notice when they go into businesses, they don't have that anymore. They've got to make all the decisions. They've got to drive all the action, and that can be a bit of a shock to the system.
So the next stage is how to go from being that self-employed person with no staff to being a business owner. Now, when we did the poll before, a lot of you guys are sitting in that business owner phase. So step 3 is to build your resources. You've got more hats that you're wearing. You need to have internal systems and scalability. You need to know your numbers, and it might be a good, chance to to look at your role. So in terms of the internal systems and processes, it's how do you, when you go from being self-employed, you've done everything yourself. And then what we see when people go to business owners is there's a lot of micromanaging happening, and everything has to run through the business owners. So it's how do you create a system and a process to allow your staff to be able to take on some of that responsibility, to not have to micromanage them, and how that can give you, like, what process do they need to follow to give you peace of mind so that you can allow that to happen. Knowing your numbers. So making sure that you make sure that the decisions you're making are having the desired outcome. So we make lots of decisions as business owners, but we don't necessarily check that they're having that desired outcome that we have. So you can sometimes end up going backwards if you don't have an understanding of the numbers behind the scenes. So you really need to be thinking of the decisions that you make and maybe what KPIs or what outcome you want at the end of that. So knowing your numbers is really important with that. And changing your role is really key because once you define your role in the business, because as I said before, when you were self employed, you did everything yourself. And it's really difficult when you're trying to scale a business if you continue to for everything to have to come through you because you become a bottleneck. You end up, the business runs you, you just don't have the time and you're the one that's really stressed. So you've actually got to define your role in the business and communicate that with the staff, and then designing, what we recommend is designing that sustainable comparable week. So you can't do everything and you need to have a bit of a plan as to what things do fit within your role that you can do during the week, and then have that consistency to be able to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve. Some of that will be, okay, well, these certain tasks can go down to staff members and things like that. So it's making sure that you can really build that capability in your team and build those resources up to allow you to have more time to work on your business, not in your business.
Yeah, and all that stuff happen. People get to be concerned about building systems and processes and doing it all up front and then moving forward. All this stuff happens as you go. In reality, it's not necessarily something you need to build and then go. It sort of happens as you move through it. So don't be too tied down by trying to design the perfect systems and processes. Start with something and then adjust it from there.
Yeah.
Will be one of the key things we talk about
One
because
thing,
it can be a
John,
real
yeah.
big roadblock.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that we always, it kind of, segues into this is involving your team in that process can actually be really amazing because they then um, feel like they've created the process as well, and they are more inclined to want to do more and more of that and actually step up for you. So that's, involve the staff. But I suppose step 4 is going from doing to coaching. So again, along the same lines of what we were just talking about. So teaching your staff and letting them have accountability and responsibility. Make sure that they are really clear on what their job roles are, that they've got KPIs around that, and that they are very well aware of what your expectations are. Do you have a game plan? So, do you have a bit of a plan and have you communicated that with the staff? Just pretend like you're, say, like a football coach. You need to tell your staff what your plan is. Otherwise, they have no idea and they're just trying to do the best that they can, but with very limited information.
Yep.
Are your KPIs aligned to the roles and responsibilities for yourself and for your team? And how often do you actually look at those? And quad two, sorry, is a concept that we're going to go through a little bit later, but it's making sure that you've got room to work on your business so that you're looking at that strategic way of how you're going to grow and improve your business by allowing yourself to have some times. And that's part of our tip at the end is by utilizing the Eisenhower matrix, and that's part of that. So you'll be able to kind of link that together when we go through that later on.
Uh, One of the other things we talk about is that quote we often use, which I haven't got in here today, but it's it links pretty closely to this. Is uncommunicated expectations are premeditated resentments, and that's what this talks about. Is game plan doesn't have to be down to the nth degree. It's just got to be a general understanding of where the business is going and why it's going there, the purpose of it, all those sort of things, so that they've got a handle on that, and they're able to contribute. Or they at least know or more or less know what's coming next. Surprise and that sort of thing can be nice sometimes, but it's not great all the time for people to be surprised or not sure where we're going. Um, just having a general idea is a really good idea. Then you can again refine it as you go through.
I use that quote, I think, nearly every couple of days, Joe, with my clients, because generally speaking, when we have issues with employees, it is because we as a business owner haven't communicated our expectations. And the amount of, conversations I have with different business owners, and it was just like, well, are they aware that this is what your expectation is, or are they aware of the game plan or whatever it is? And as business owners, we tend to keep a lot in our chest And we don't want to share a lot with our staff, but the more that we do, the easier it is. So it is
Oh, I
something that
think
I've talked
yeah.
about a lot.
I think there's I think there's that element, but there's also just an element of pure, you know, commerciality and time, and quite often people don't intend to hold necessarily too much close to their chest. It's just a case of, well, you can't be. It's that balance of communicating enough in order to keep things moving without communicating too much. Now, what people tend to do is they just don't communicate at all. So yeah, and quite often, yeah, same thing. Tammy, have those discussions, and you say, yeah, have you communicated that? Have you communicated that to them or told them how you feel about that? And quite often the answer is, well, I just thought they would know,
Mhm.
um, and they don't. Otherwise, if they did, more than likely they would change what they what they're doing. So it's just taking that time and getting that balance right.
Mhm.
Now, guys, sorry, again, due to my stuff up earlier, we're going to go a little bit later because we started a little bit later. So we'll try to keep it as soon as possible after 12:30, but we will be a little bit after that. Okay, so this is now moving from business owner to investor. So this is moving from the third quadrant on that cash flow quadrant to the fourth one. And this is more stepping back. So now created a business where it can scale, it can run pretty well by itself with a team. It doesn't need your involvement so much. Uh, but the next step here is being able to actually actively step back. Now that might sound really simple when it can run by itself, but it's really not, because you built this thing from the ground up. It's it means a lot to you quite often as a business owner. So being able to step back and give control to your team can be a really difficult thing to do. Even if you trust them, the processes are great, all that sort of stuff. It's just a psychological barrier we've got to break through. So uh, again, taking it that next step further of going into that vision, mission, values, and communication. So why you would make decisions with your business as a business owner, not to do with a checklist, but why your values and how your values dictate your decision making. So again, you're passing that on to your team, and hopefully your team have been recruited based on those values, so they have no issue identifying with those. Again, clear roles and responsibilities for everyone in the whole business, KPIs and a management structure. So we're looking at that regularly, so we understand the heartbeat of the business and what's going on, and we're getting any red flags that pop up if there's an issue. There's a return on investment for the owner, and creating value in the business itself. So we're continuing to grow value and grow the business even without your involvement. Um, and then telling them what's next. So what's coming up next. Quite often when a business gets to this size, doesn't need to be a big business, but when it gets to this stage where it can run by itself and it's got a team looking after it, it becomes a case of, okay, well, what is next? We've moved through all these levels of growing and got it to a point where it's this stage. What are we doing now? Is there someone else coming on board? We're going to move into succession. Are we going to sell it? What's coming? Um, and again, you don't need to know that. You just need to be considering it and talking about it with the team.
And one thing I failed to mention earlier is that these, don't feel like you have to get to that investor as the destination in your business. These quadrants are for, I suppose, however you want to run your business and however far through them you want to get. It's not you have to go through all of the steps and this is like the end goal, because that's not going to fit everyone. So yeah, that was just something I meant to mention earlier.
Yep. Yep. That's cool. And then letting go completely. So stepping back and then letting go. So you've got confidence in the teams and the systems. This is the top rung. So we've made it. You've got confidence in the team and the systems. You think strategically and work on the top level. You've got absolute clarity of communication. I'm not sure I've ever achieved that or seen that, but it's as close as possible to absolute clarity of communication. Early warning system in place for the red flags, and you're a leader of leaders at that point in time. So you've got leaders in your team, and you're leading them and teaching them how to go about that. So as we said before, and as Tam just covered off there, just because you're at this stage doesn't necessarily mean that you um, need to step out of it altogether. You can still be involved in the business. Just because you're an investor doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be the CEO or general manager or doing whatever you want to do within your business. It just gives you that flexibility that if you want to step out, it can continue to run without you. Now, the obvious upside of that is the flexibility that comes with it. You can choose to go where you'd like to. And then secondly, there's enormous value in your business if you're doing that as well. So yeah, you're able to to either sell that to someone within your business, so succession, or you're able to sell it externally as well. So again, stepping through those steps, starting from the start. So start with defining yourself and understanding where you're at in those quadrants, and understanding that sometimes people move between the two of them. Quite often, people do move between business owner and self-employed, and business owner and investor, because they're difficult things to break through, to move from one to the other. So just defining where you're at, starting with the end in mind. So put a plan in place, build a strategy, build your resources to allow that to happen with whatever your plan says. Understand that your role is going to move from doing to coaching. When you're at that level and you're comfortable, be able to step back and put the systems in place to allow you to do that, and the measures to allow you to do that, and then be able to let go.
So, what is next? So, consider what quadrant you are in and where do you want to get to? What are some of your challenges and gaps? So, as we've stepped through each of those runs on the ladder and we've talked through some of the things that we might be in there, you may go, actually, I've got a few gaps in that area. I may need to put roles and responsibilities in place for my staff, or I may need to have KPIs or whatever it is. So, what are the challenges that you're having at the moment and what are the gaps that you see? Um, as as we said, start with the end in mind. How are you going to get there? And make sure that you have some sort of accountability structure in place. So, how are you going to stay accountable to making some of these changes that you need to do? So, just start with one step. As I said earlier, you just only need one action that is going to be the most important to you as your immediate focus, and just focus on that. You don't need to have 10 things that you need to do, but just have one thing one little gold nugget that you can take out of today and be like, all right, well, I think I really need to go and do this, or I need to get an accountability partner, or whatever that is. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice.
That's all right. That's right. So the Eisenhower matrix, Tam referenced this before. We talk about this all the time. Quad 1, 2, 3, and 4. Quad 2 is that yellow one up the top there, the schedule. So important but not urgent. And this is the thing where a lot of this stuff falls into. So business planning, strategic planning, growth, forecasting. Your business can survive without any of those things. It doesn't need to happen. So day to day, you can run your business, and a lot of people get stuck in that green one, that do one. So just putting out fires. We all get stuck in there from time to time. The key is that we don't stay in there. So we create some build some resources to help fill that in, to help you move out of there a little bit, and then we create a little bit of time. Now that doesn't mean you need to spend. I think some people, when you say work on your business instead of in your business, it's almost like, well, they're taking 100% of their time from over here to put it over here. That's not the case. Just a little bit of time in that schedule box, that quad 2, will make an enormous difference. Now, on the flip side, if you don't do any time in there at all, that will also make an enormous difference, and not in the way that you want it to make. So making sure that you're spending some time in there. And again, just to cover back over this, keep in mind that there are some things that you're doing with it when you review your role. That's often a really good place to start, that are not urgent, not important. You just don't need to be doing them. Get rid of them. That's the delete box, quad 4. The urgent and not important stuff that does need to get done, we delegate that. We create a team for that, and we create some team to help out with the do as well. And eventually the team will move into the quad 2 as well, and help you with some of that sort of thing, side of things as well. Anything further to add to that, Tam?
No, no.
No?
I think, look, we've covered that in a few different webinars, but I think it's really important to just, as Joe said, we're not, when we say work on your business, we don't expect you to go all the way to the other end of the spectrum and 100% work on, that strategic side. One of the slides that we had earlier was, even as a business owner, it should be 50-50, 50% doing, 50% in that area of working on your business. Now, you can, I suppose, the biggest tip that I have in terms of making time for that would be just to try and say an hour. If you're not doing anything in that space, maybe an hour a week or 2 hours a week, or a little bit here and a little bit there. Just try and
Just
fit
schedule it in.
it in, schedule it in. That's right.
Yep. Yep. Schedule it in, make it happen. An hour a week is very achievable, but it's amazing when we're busy and we're in that do space. How if you put that in your diary and you try and stick to it, how hard it is to do that, because it's always going to be so. If you're in that do space, there's always going to be something that comes up every time. Uh, but if you make that time and you start to get some, it's like any forming any habit, and that habit loop, you start to get some runs on the board and some wins. Well, all of a sudden that hour becomes more attractive now. So we've got to get through that initial, I suppose, the growing pain and the pain of change in order to get to the ice cream. All right, how can we help? So a few things here. One of the things we really want to focus on is our Profits Plus. That starts again in July. That's the third one there. We work with clients on strategy sessions, which are tailored one-day sessions with documented outcomes and action. So that's more, I suppose, some planning and strategic stuff with business owners. PTP BizIQ is our quarterly group session, which we're halfway through for the year. That runs from start of the year to end of the year. There's 4 quarterly sessions. Again, if you're interested in that and joining, either coming along for a visit, perhaps to come and see what it's all about, or talk to us about it, or register for next year, please let us know. We're happy to talk to you about that. Profits Plus, we are going to provide a discount code for anyone that's attended the webinar. We've got a list of all you people that are on here now. So any of you that want to join up and jump into Profits Plus starting in July, that's 6 months worth, July through to December. Will be that discount code will be available to you. All you've got to do is email Amy at marketing@ptps.com.au and let her know you're interested. We'll line that up with you being an attendee, and we'll send you the details. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. Tam, you want to jump in
I was
there?
just going to say the Profits Plus is 6 monthly sessions, and it's really focusing on how to understand the numbers in your business and how to improve your profits depending on what industry and things you're in. So if you need more of that financial based knowledge, that's a really good program to go into. That's just once a month, and each month we step through a different module.
Yep, absolutely. The other thing with that is you can jump in at any time. That just rolls through. So if July doesn't work for you, you can jump in August, September, whatever, and then you just do your 6 months following. So, and then we do our coaching as well. So one-on-one time with Tam, myself, or Jeff to support you to achieve your business goals. It's more the one-to-one, personalised to your business. Again, happy to talk about that as well. All right. Questions? Oh, Tim's disappeared. Okay. We've got a couple of, so feel free. We do have a couple of submitted questions prior to. We might answer those. If anyone has any questions that's an attendee and you would like to ask them, please feel free to put it in the chat box. Happy to look at that and to answer those for you, or get in touch with us afterwards. But we'll hang around for another couple of minutes and answer these quick couple of questions now. And where are we in the chat? I don't think I can mark as a question. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So hopefully we can see that up on the screen. How do I stop getting stuck in the doing part of the business and find time to actually work on my business? I think we answered this hopefully a little bit before, just around the scheduling of time and what Tam had said about putting that hour aside. Really, the only way to stop getting stuck in your business is to make time to work on your business. And there is no, if you think about it logically, there is no other way to do that. It's really then communicating that and helping your team, if you're working with a team, helping your team to protect that time, and that you're using it so you can start to get a benefit from it as well. So making it very aware, put it in the diary. It's not negotiable. Hour here. Put it at a time when you're at high energy levels, so that you can do that and move on. And just keep doing that consistently, and you'll be amazed what happens. Tam, do you have anything further on
Sorry,
that?
yes, apologies. I keep having internet glitches, so I keep going off and on. So apologies to that.
That's fine.
No, I think just again, even if you are running at full capacity and you feel like you don't have the time, what can you delegate to team members to be able to free up that space as well?
Yep. Great. We'll do one more. Any advice if I don't know where I want to take my business?
I think having a bit of a, I suppose with us, we look at our 3 circles, or our time, money, culture, or we're, looking at goals. So I think maybe step back and kind of think about what where do you want to get to. It Sometimes the answer may not be obvious, so it can be one of those things where you just may need to keep thinking about that, going forward.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. The three circles thing that Jeff brought into our business is incredibly useful for just reflecting, because it just covers off a whole heap of life areas in the three different sections. So it just allows you to round off and say, okay, what do I want my life to look like, and then how does my business look to actually facilitate that. And again, as Tam said, it's not something that you're just going to sit down and go, this is exactly how I want to look right now, and it won't change. We all know the reality is that's going to change over time. So just get a starting point, a post in the ground, and then just move towards that and adjust as you go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. And
Oh,
as you said,
hi,
yeah.
Anne. And it has been a long time since we've caught up. When I'm in Albury next, I will have to come and have a coffee with you. Lovely to see your name on the list.
Excellent.
Oh,
All right.
thank you so much for coming along today, guys. And apologies for the technical difficulties. It's one of those things that you don't expect when we do so many of these. So
Not
apologies for that.
normally it all works pretty seamlessly, but yeah, not today. Not today. So sorry about
And the
that. And thanks for
financial
hanging
year
around.
crazies.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful.
Excellent. All
I
right.
hope
Thanks for
you all
joining
have
us.
a great end of financial year and a great rest of the day.
See you later.
Later.